if you just start in growth, go and read a lot. There are literally all kind of guides, all kind of learning centers online. So for me, this will be one of the first things to do. It's like go and educate yourself by taking a lot of hours at the beginning and read all of these things.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes, a podcast by StoreMaven. We break down how and why mobile apps grow. In each episode, we invite a mobile growth expert onto the show to break down a specific mobile growth strategy, how it worked, why it worked, and what they would do differently. I'm your host, Esther Shatz. Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I am very excited to be joined today by Dora Trostanetsky, who's the Director of Marketing at SoundCloud. Dora, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi, Esther. Hi, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. So, hi, everyone. My name is Dora. I work at SoundCloud. I'm part of the growth marketing team, and I'm taking care of organic acquisition. That means ASO, SEO, as well as retention and engagement up until recently. Yes, so I hope I have exciting and interesting things to share with you today.
I have no doubt about that. So obviously we're going to be talking about SoundCloud specifically. When it comes to the growth metrics that you're looking at, what are some of the main KPIs that you focus on when you're looking at kind of success of organic growth, of any kind of growth?
Yes, so there are quite a few of them, right? So we can talk about the very basic ones that we can also call a little bit vanity metrics. So it shouldn't be the only metric that you're looking at, but to get a very holistic idea of if your business is growing and how you're doing, we're looking obviously at monthly active users. Then we're looking also one level deeper into stickiness, like how many of our daily active users are coming back. So what is like the DAO and MAO ratio? This is also something we're looking at. And then obviously for us it's very important to understand user engagement. And in our case, this translates into listening time. And for those who are not familiar with SoundCloud, I think I didn't introduce SoundCloud, but it is a music platform where you can find music to listen to or podcasts to listen to. And you can also upload your own music or audio of any kind and then find an audience on the platform. So obviously, listening time for us is extremely important. This is, I think, the number one engagement metric that shows us that people have found value. So we would really want to increase the listening time that users are spending. So these are just a few of the KPIs. Obviously, we can, we're looking at even deeper levels, but this is already a good start.
Yeah, and SoundCloud. If anybody hasn't heard of it, it's quite a big name. So just to get an idea of scale, I mean, are we looking at in the hundreds of millions of downloads? How generally, what kind of audience size are we looking at?
Yes, we're looking at millions of downloads. This is correct. Of course, I think without surprise, our biggest markets are US, UK, then Western Europe. Also, actually, Egypt is pretty big. Brazil, we have a lot of markets, and we're very happy that SoundCloud is such an international product. It's really not only focused on one specific market, but it's internationally known. And up until today, we see actually a lot of organic traffic coming in. Even up until recently, we haven't done any paid. We were actually really relying on organic. This was our source of traffic. And then we've just recently started experimenting with some paid channels because this field is extremely competitive. Like you can think of so many other companies doing similar things. I mean, content discovery, it's not limited to music apps anymore. We have companies like TikTok. Of course, we have companies like YouTube. They're around for a very long time now. So it is a very, very competitive field, and it has been pretty amazing journey that we've managed to still grow only with organic traffic.
It's insane actually to be able to grow for years without spending, a single UA dollar, I think is definitely rare. I think a lot of people listening are going to be very jealous of that fact. What do you think is, kind of the overall reason that SoundCloud was able to grow without needing to acquire traffic and acquire users?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Honestly, we're always trying to pinpoint because there's so many offline factors, right? It's not only online, because online you can track and you can say, oh, we have like, people sharing, which is true. People are sharing their content, whatever, whether they upload it or they liked something, they found something, they share with their friends. But I think definitely also there's so many offline factors, right? Like word of mouth. People are talking about it. Our audience is very young, so you can imagine that people going to school or to university, you're hanging out with your friends, you're finding a new artist, and then you share it with your friends. And another pretty great thing about SoundCloud is that it really is the place where you find artists that just starting. These bedroom artists that are just recorded their first tracks. They haven't gained popularity just yet. So people are going to SoundCloud to discover this completely new content and really find something new and unique before it really hits the charts, which happens several times. But I would say this is also one of the reasons why we continue actually growing organically. Like really this unique value proposition.
No, amazing. So I mean, I guess look, SoundCloud is a very recognizable brand. I think most people have at least heard of SoundCloud, if not used it, or at least, logged in once when somebody sent them a song link or something like that. Um, you came in needing to optimize a brand that is so recognized and kind of increase organic traffic. Is it even possible? How does that work? How do you come in and tackle something that it feels like, all right, you've heard of SoundCloud, either you're using it or you're not, right?
Yeah, actually, also a very good question. I really like to share this story because myself, I was extremely surprised. So when I started working at SoundCloud, when was it? I'm kidding. Like last week, last year June, not last week, last year June. Um, yeah, so this was the time when there was no ASO in place, right? There were some random keywords running in the background, so there was nothing was optimized. So when I started, one of my first missions was to go and optimize for the keywords, and specifically on iOS. We had this few not very relevant keywords in the background, and we were already ranking super well for the majority of keywords. So you can imagine keywords like music app. We were already there. We were already in the one of the first results, and we were having great brand traffic, pretty good keyword traffic. So my first thought was like, is this going to work at all? Like, even if I optimize the keywords, we're already ranking so well. What will it bring? And of course, I've done it anyway because, like, why not? We should see what happens. But I didn't have much faith in it. I thought it's not gonna really move the needle. And surprisingly, it did, and not with little, but with a lot. So by optimizing the keywords, putting the ones that are, but in our case, it's very lucky because we already rank for high volume keywords, which isn't the case obviously for a company that just starts and wants to build their ASO. But by including very relevant keyword into our keyword field, into our title and subtitle on iOS, we have seen really, really good increase in semantic dictionary. So the more generic keywords that are not brand related, but also very surprisingly, we have seen a great increase in traffic coming from similar brands. So what happened is the following: the brand traffic did not change much. It was pretty stable because we were already obviously number one for keywords like SoundCloud or some kind of misspellings that people would do. But for the generic keywords and the similar apps, we actually grew a lot. So we started being ranked better for our competitors, and it was all linked actually. So I was very surprised to see these results.
So just I want to make sure I clarify this. Similar apps, in Apple, those are when you're in somebody else's app store page. You scroll down to the bottom. There's that area of apps you may also like, or kind of all right, you didn't want to download this one. What else you have? So what you're saying is your keyword work enabled you to show up in more of those similar apps areas.
So this, and also when people type another brand keyword. So meaning like if they type a competitor's name, will be actually rank better, uh, which wasn't always the case before. So this is what I mean. Also, but you're right. Similar apps is actually what shows up when you scroll when you're on somebody's product page. But in that case, I also include how are we ranking for our competitor keywords.
Amazing. And I mean, I think sometimes you think about competitor keywords as what chance do I have, right? If somebody already decided that they want to download YouTube and I'm kind of shoving something else in their face, it's a very hard sell to be able to put in. But you're saying you actually saw kind of really solid results from
Yes,
being able to increase those rankings.
absolutely. We absolutely have seen results. And best part was when I was like a couple of months later, when I was doing one of the reports, the monthly reports, we actually hit like the second position in the US. So number two, we're
Wow.
number two in our category music with only organic traffic. It was such a great moment. And we historically haven't had this position before. And when you look at average per month, obviously, like if you look at dailies, it probably happened here and there. But looking at that, we look at average per month for our category ranking, and we were number two for it. I think it was October last year when this happened. And now we're kind of swinging between second and third position. But we should also say that our competitors have been very aggressive with spend with paid acquisition. So as we all know on iOS, what matters most is the number of installs. So whoever drives the most installs has a higher position. Nevertheless, swinging between second and third position, it's still very good. But reaching number two with only organic traffic
It's
was
insane.
absolutely a great experience for sure.
It's amazing. It is amazing. I mean, category rankings, the kind of thing that, once you finally secure your UA budget, that's when you can start to dream about reaching those top slots. It's just insane that you were able to do
Yeah.
it organically. That's awesome. Um, can you I guess it would be great to understand a little bit more practically when it came to kind of those keyword optimizations. So you mentioned a lot of your traffic was coming from brand keywords. You were ranking highly. What kind of work does it take to optimize from that already high situation? What kind of, processes did you go through and to be
Mhm.
able to make that improvement?
Honestly, there is no much secret there. It's really literally a trial and error kind of thing. So I would say if you like test a new keyword and new keyword combination, and if you don't rank, um, I don't know, in the top five, I think you should reconsider. Maybe okay, if you're up until top 10, it's debatable. I mean, there is no very strict rule about it, but basically what I've learned a lot is like we try to of course go for the biggest keywords. We tried everything. And for some of them it worked, but for some others it didn't. So we really were ranking number 40 for this keyword or 30 or whatever. And as much as this keyword was very relevant for us, it did make sense to keep it because we were not getting any traffic from it. So there is no secret. It really is one thing. Go and test as many keywords and keyword combinations. Give it a couple of weeks for to make sure that this information has been picked up and you're sure about seeing the right results. Um, I even I was even I've made this test with leaving one keyword that wasn't bringing. We were not positioned. We were not ranked very well for that keyword, but it was such a relevant keyword that I really wanted to let it run for more than a couple of weeks just to see if Apple, learn that we really want to rank
Change
for that
their
keyword
mind?
and change their mind. I think it partially worked. We probably gained a couple of positions, but I don't think it's because we left it longer there. It's just because probably something else changed. But really trial and error. Go ahead and try all kind of keywords and keyword combinations, and this is how you're actually going to find a set that works for you. And then you're going to have, after a couple of months of experiments and testing, you're going to have a very stable keyword set. Probably, let's say, 70% of these keywords will really bring you good traffic, and then with another 30%, you can play. You can remove them, you can put new ones, and this is how you optimize. But at a certain point, you will probably find keywords that work pretty well for you. So it won't be a drastic change. It will be more like a maintenance. At least that's what happens in our case.
I think you said a few things there that are amazing. One is this idea of experimentation, because I completely, I totally agree. There's no magic with keywords. There's no way to just know that something is going to work for you. And okay, I've put this keyword in, great. Now I'm going to start getting traffic. So I think that idea and the patience of you've got to give it time. You can't expect, 3 days after a change to really be able to understand what kind of impact there's been there. I think the other thing, that you said that I also really connect with is this idea of when you're already poorly ranking. So for me, I see it pretty much anywhere where you're, I think you said it as well, under 10. It's so much harder, even if you're running these optimizations, it's so much harder to push your ranking, and you don't really see much of a difference if you've moved from even 40 to 30. It's not actually tangibly something that makes an impact. But when you're in those higher keywords, if you're pushing from 5 to 4, from 4 to 3, so on and so forth, that's where you actually start to kind of have an impact. Yeah. And I think that's super important, of this, like, not trying to optimize the keywords that you can't break through. You can't break through on them. Adding one tag here or there is probably not going to make that difference. But I also love this idea that once you've done your initial work, you have your kind of core keywords, and then you still have this area to play around with. So you're not sacrificing what you've built. You just have this, kind of groundwork, and then the add-ons, the, kind of the little side ones to be able to maintain.
Absolutely. Yep. I think the biggest lift is really in the beginning when you start VA. So after that, you're very familiar with the keywords, right? And how they work for you. But things change. So I would even advise, like, why don't you just test even keywords that haven't worked in the past? You can try again, because this obviously changes. So.
Yeah, I mean, with something else that changes a lot, I'd say, is your competitor space. So you, especially in the music industry, I'm sure you have competitors that are launching, fairly frequently, that maybe can shake up the industry, maybe can't. But their strategies are changing. So if your competitors are suddenly bidding really aggressively in certain places, your performance probably also is being shaken because of that, right? So that kind of touching base to make sure. Yeah. The industry hasn't moved on without you is definitely important.
Yes, this is why we're actually testing also now, paid channels. We've noticed that, everybody's investing so heavily in paid. It's great to have such a high organic traffic, but, it cannot go forever. So at a certain point, you have to consider other options, like, the paid channel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, in general, at some level, the platforms are also changing. Like Apple are updating their algorithms with some level of frequency, which means the things that worked for you 2 years ago probably don't work for you in this new S and with these these new rankings. When it comes to kind of measuring the impact and understanding how it works, what are you, we talked about the KPIs you look at overall for growth, but specifically with keyword strategies, what are you looking for to see if a strategy is successful or not?
Yes. So this is a bit of a complicated thing to really understand your true impact. What we do is, like, we rely on our ASO tool. So we use Aptwig for that. And then we go ahead and they have a very nice chart where it shows you your generic versus brand keywords versus, similar brands keyword volume. So actually you can understand the volume over time. And this is where we can get a good understanding of how, like, basically the trend. Are we going upward, downward, etc.? Another good thing we can see also on the platform is how recognized you are as a brand. So how strong your brand is and what is your visibility on the store. So these are good indicators, right? But then if we want to understand really numbers, then we go to the iTunes console, and then we look at our search traffic. We usually look at browse and search because we know that historically Apple has misattributed some of the installs to browse, and it kind of started shifting. So just in case, we're looking at both to kind of understand the big picture. And this is where we try to understand whether our traffic has increased coming from this specific source. And yeah, so it's a blend of different sources that we're looking at to really understand the impact of our organic traffic.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about kind of top of the funnel and how we get users in when, getting them to discover the app. Let's take it a step further. So you've gotten a user to download. I know you've done kind of a lot in the world of onboarding flows as well and kind of testing processes there. How does that work? How do you kind of tackle, it's half the battle getting the download, but you don't actually get anything. A user who downloads and never logs in doesn't help you all that much. So how do you start that process?
Yes, that's one of my favorite topics. So before we get to activation, what I would like to mention is that we also work closely with the paid marketing teams at SoundCloud to ensure that the user journey is pretty seamless in a sense that they see the paid banners, for example, and then go to the App Store and have the same design. So I just wanted to say that another call out that I would make and is definitely work with the paid marketing team. Make sure that your screenshots and paid media banners are kind of following the same design rules. I don't know what's going on with my voice.
No, but that is, I think it's something that you see a lot in larger companies, especially when you have different teams covering completely different aspects. If you don't have the consistent messaging, everybody hits the app store and everybody hits your app. There's not much you can do about that. And if you have, an amazing the best UA campaign in the world, if it doesn't match consistently with everything that happens after, it's only going to go so far.
Yeah, you need to be consistent. So obviously, yeah, we're trying to be on brand everywhere, but that might sound very obvious, and somebody would say like, yeah, of course. But I have seen differently. So just because there is this silos between teams, they're not working closely. So just a small call out to keep in mind. Yeah, going back to activation, and activation is also one of my favorite topics. So obviously, depending on your product, you can have a different type of onboarding. Some products are so seamless you don't even need an onboarding, right? It really depends on the product. In our case, what we really wanted to achieve is get some first signals from our new users of what they like, so that we can be more personal in our suggestions and on the platform. So what we've done is that we worked with an agency, and together with our CRM team, we built an onboarding experience from scratch, where we ask people to tell us a little bit more about their music preferences, what type of genres they actually like, and this is coming right after they sign up. So this is already forming us what people like, and it allows us to serve them very personalized messages based on their genre, and already try to help them find the content they like on the platform. And once they start listening, we're actually going to educate them how to build their library, how to reconsume this library. So this is actually something that we haven't had before, and it has worked also pretty well. We have seen people engage with more content, liking more content, listening to more music. So definitely in our case, this type of activation was necessary, and yeah, I can say only good things so far. Fingers crossed it's going to continue that like this, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Your user comes in, it doesn't really know what the value of your product is. So why don't you just help them out find it as quickly as possible? Because attention span is becoming shorter and shorter. And think about all the apps you have on your phone. So if you download something, you sign up, and you don't find immediately what you're looking for, likelihood of you staying is very small.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. How do you deal with, um, on the one hand, you want to be able to provide a personalized experience, which means finding out as much as you can about the user, getting them to fill as much as they can. But you mentioned also there's that limited patience. So how do you balance, that information will make your long-term user journey so much more valuable. But in the short term, how do I make sure that you've actually, that you have the incentive to fill in all these preferences and complete it and not just jump past that?
Yeah. Well, we have to be fair here and say that quite a few people are used to dismiss things. So we see that behavior a lot, right? A lot of users are dismissing the screens. They are like, I'm not answering anything. But we're also mindful of something is that our SoundCloud users are very knowledgeable when it comes to music. So they have very strong preferences. So very often they come to the platform and they're like, I don't need to tell you what genres. I already know what I'm looking for. I already know everything about music. So we know that we have this very, um, knowledgeable, educated people in terms of music. So we understand that some of them they don't necessarily like to be guided, but for others it works pretty well. So um, you cannot really avoid that. You will always have people that will skip this onboarding, they will be impatient, or they don't necessarily find value in it. And this is where iteration comes in. This is where you say, okay, let's see how many people skip the screen. Maybe what we are asking them doesn't show any value for them. And this is actually one of the tests I want to share. We've done at SoundCloud. It's one of the fails that I want to share, actually. So now, currently in our onboarding, when you sign up, you're going to see a screen where we actually ask you what you like in terms of music genres. This is helping us, inform a little bit more our algorithms and then showing you the right content. So we had a pretty high skip rate, and we were thinking, okay, maybe we're not telling people what's in it for them, right? What is the benefit for them? Because obviously this is to inform us, like what they like, and then show them immediately some results relevant. But we don't really explain to them what's in it for them. So what we've done is that we introduced another screen just before the genre selection screen where we were explaining to the users like what is the benefit, why are we doing it. We even we tested 5 or 6 value propositions, um, and we were thinking, okay, great, now we're giving them the why. Maybe they will give us a little bit more as well. It completely killed the conversion. It was
Oh my God.
it completely killed it. It was really a friction point. People couldn't care less. They didn't want to read. So we removed it. So we were trying to really give them the why, but it didn't seem to matter much, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is also why testing is so important because logically, of course it makes sense that you're saying I'm about to ask you a bunch of, kind of personal questions and make you fill something out. Let me tell you why I'm doing this. And not that way apparently. You could see a company putting that in and being super proud of we A/B tested the design of this page and it's great. And then discovering that in fact this was another step that nobody, I guess it also maybe didn't hit the reason of why people were skipping that screen. It wasn't because they didn't understand why. It's because, like you mentioned, actually, now that you say it, I'm thinking about myself as a user and I look at those screens and I'm like, I like a lot of genres. Why am I going to pick, these?
Or
I
you
don't
can
need
pick
to
as many
pick
as
these.
you like. You can pick as many as you like. That's totally fine. We don't limit you to
Yeah.
one. You can pick as
That's
many as
good.
you like,
That's good.
for sure.
But yeah, no, I think that's a really good point that, you thought you solved kind of step one, but that was it was the counter solving.
It was
I want to
absolutely
touch on.
it was a fail. It was a great learning.
I love fails. You got to be able to see what doesn't work to really know what actually does. Um, you mentioned before you worked closely with your CRM team on kind of the experimentation, but not the product team. What was is there a reason you go through the CRM team for the onboarding step?
Yes, good question on that one. So the product team was actually very involved. What we are doing at SoundCloud is that very often, instead of the product team working on a feature for a very long time, we can first try it for CRM to kind of prove the value of this functionality. Um, So onboarding, it was just much faster to get executed through CRM. It's not ideal because obviously when it lives in the product, it can really interact better with the internal algorithms and then have an even bigger impact. But with CRM, as much as it could be limited for some things, it's really good for proving the point of whether it makes sense or not, and whether people engage or not. And it also gives you this flexibility of constantly testing things without the need of much engineering work. It really is, CRM, it goes much faster. So we've made, we've done so many tests for our onboarding, so many, and we've learned so much that now the product team can take this information and say, okay, this is what worked, what this what didn't work, this is the type of message that really resonates with the user, and then they can build it in the product, right? So we see CRM as also a great way to prove that something could work, and then the product team can pick it up.
Yeah, I think that probably also, enables a testing culture and an ability to test. If you don't need product to fully design every single experience, you're able to work with an MVP that maybe isn't perfect and it's not the experience you go for, but at least you know the direction now and you don't have to
Yeah.
kind of start from scratch and then scrap it all and, and try again in the next time.
Exactly, and it takes them longer, right? Like it takes the product team much longer to do that, and with CRM, you can just build it much quicker, and then you can iterate on it much quicker. So I think it's a great tool to use for testing, even like product ideas. Like in the product roadmap, instead of wasting a couple of months on something that might not work, just first try it with CRM if possible. Um, yeah, it has worked pretty well for us.
And I guess just one, kind of to finish this off, we talked about the top of the funnel. We talked about getting people actually in and using. What happens after? Does acquisition, if we're looking at MAU and DAU and getting the understanding of people who are coming in every day, how does growth continue after you've gotten somebody onboarded and through that hurdle?
Yes, are you referring to how do we retain them longer, and
Yeah,
or
I
how?
guess what do you have ways of, do you look at users differently when they're do you have to, you're learning a lot about your users? Do you have buckets? Does that change how you work with them in the future?
Absolutely, yes, we do have buckets. Absolutely, so in SoundCloud's case, it's very complex because we have a very different type of users. Imagine all the genres you can think of, like all the artists you can think of. Like we have people with very different behaviors, there are different tastes, different frequency of usage. So we're definitely trying to become more informed and more precise into understanding our audience of like what exactly makes them stay. And what we have done in the past, we ran a lot of analysis, a lot of cohorted analysis and trying to understand any type of pattern, anything in common. Why are people staying? What is the user behavior that they exhibit? So maybe they're doing something more than others, and this is our indicator of success and retention. Um, and then the answer that came back was a little bit disappointing in the sense that we didn't have the silver bullet we were hoping for. It literally didn't have a very clear pattern. So what we looked at our power users, so people who really listen a lot, like they're very active on a monthly basis, and we were expecting to see a very similar behavior. Say they like a lot, they create playlists a lot, or any kind of action on the platform that will show some sort of engagement. And it was very interesting to find out that it was completely spread all over the place. So we had people that didn't like much, but they listened a lot, and we had others that liked a lot and listened a lot. And then there was no clear winner where we say, okay, this specific engagement metric is going to be an indicator of success and retention. This didn't come, unfortunately, out of this analysis. So we're definitely trying to bucket our users, understand engagement, understand frequency, understand type of usage, and then address these users also with different messaging, kind of, become more relevant for them. And what we've noticed is that for very highly engaged users, so power users, people who really listen a lot, we don't bother them much with our with messages, suggestions, or anything, because we know that they don't like it very much, so they dismiss the messages. It's not as relevant because they already know what they're looking for and they know what they want. So it's important to be very mindful and not go with the same message to everybody, but understand your buckets, what makes sense for them, and especially does it even make sense to send them anything. You don't want to disturb or disrupt their experience on the platform. So a lot of complexity involved for us on that level. Yes, and another important thing that we always love seeing, because it really is one of these growth loops that it's no secret to anybody or unique to SoundCloud, but it's obviously we like when people not only find what they like to listen to, but also share it, with their with their friends, with their networks, with everybody. This is, I think, one of the favorite things for any company, right? But
Yeah, when your users market for you, it's the best.
yes, this is a wonderful growth loop. We're only happy to see it grow.
Awesome. All right, quick fire round, the questions that we ask everyone when they join. First of all, if you could give one tip to somebody who's just starting out in growth marketing and mobile growth marketing, what would it be?
I definitely have this one tip to give. So when I started with ASO a couple of years ago, and I had no clue. I had really no clue. I was really had to learn everything from scratch. So the one tip I have is like go online and then find all your resources. There are absolutely amazing resources out there. Back in the days when I was starting, there were very, very few resources. Today, it's full of them. So if you just start in growth, go and read a lot. Just read a lot this information. There are literally all kind of guides, all kind of learning centers online. So for me, this will be one of the first things to do. It's like go and educate yourself by taking a lot of hours at the beginning and read all of these things. This helped me tremendously and answered a lot of my questions. And then part of this tip is also join the relevant Slack groups. There are quite a few now, right? We have an ASO dedicated Slack group, and there are many other mobile related Slack groups. And this is where you can ask your questions, connect with the community, and read what other people have to share. So I think these two things for somebody that starts, and not even if you start, I do it all the time. Just do these things, and you'll be fine. Yeah, the rest
You
will
bring me
come.
right. You bring me right to my next question, which is, what's your favorite mobile growth resource? What's your favorite area to tap into?
I don't have one. I don't have one. I have too many. Mobile, oh, the mobile related one. So mobile dev memo, of course. We have feature. We have a lot of ASO great blogs. In Sepia, for example, I love it. We have your resource, of course, that I absolutely love. Yeah, well, there's too many actually. I should have made a list for that and then read them all out. But these are just to name a few, just to name a few. Yeah, and then of course, more and more people are now writing newsletters. For example, Thomas Petit just started his newsletter. I highly recommend it. It's really a great read. So yeah, there are many great sources out there.
Is there one person in the mobile growth world that Corona ends, we go back to normal? One person that you'd want to take out for lunch, and why?
Brian Belfort from Reforge. Yeah, when all the great Reforge programs, and the growth loops, this will be definitely a very interesting conversation. I can learn a lot. So yeah, but it's not limited, obviously, to this one person. There are a couple more.
It's a good start. Most important question: what is your favorite type of pancake?
Oh my God. I don't know. Cinnamon pancake.
Oh, now I want cinnamon pancakes. Okay, Dora, that was amazing. One more thing is just, where can people find you if they want to, kind of learn more, reach out?
Yeah, so I'm literally on all the Slack channels, all the groups. So please feel free to Slack me. And also LinkedIn, it's a great place to connect as well.
All right, awesome. Dora, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Esther. It was great chatting, and wish everybody a great day.
And that was Mobile Growth and Pancakes. To find out more about StoreMaven and how we can improve App Store performance, visit storemaven.com. And then make sure to search for Mobile Growth and Pancakes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at StoreMaven, thanks for listening.